Good afternoon, everyone. So let's not wait anymore. Let's start our first session. So our first session is Automating Technical Writing by Sachin Shenoy. A brief introduction about our speaker. Sachin Shenoy, he is an industry veteran with more than 20 years of experience. He's an information engineering leader, mentor, user assistant specialist, disruptive strategist, and builds winning teams. Sachin, the stage is yours.
Thank you. So that was written by Swati Damle. You can see her name on the PPT. She was supposed to present with me, but she's not here today. She had some emergency, so it's just me, okay? Good, so let's get started. So let me give you a context of how I see what has happened so far in the industry, right? So we started with, So if you look at the evolution of software industry, right? So we had the mainframes, and it was one terminal. People would go, they would type in what they wanted. For every command, there might have been an additional help available in command line. But other than that, what we were delivering was just books, right? So we were printing books, giving it away. Then came the world of client-server architecture, right? So you'll have a server, you'll have a client, a thinner client on the PC. And that's when we started to support embedded help, right? So you would give some sort of context-sensitive help, some amount of PDF. Then it evolved to a pure browser-based software, and then we started to give them online help, which was truly online. We spoke about videos then, right? So we're creating videos, and then like one of our sponsors does, you started creating walkthroughs on the screen. I was talking to some of my colleagues from the previous companies, and they're heavily invested in creating those walkthroughs today. But there is also a push to be more and more collaborative today, right? So you want the customer to be able to interact with the product, and documentation, like our keynote speaker said, is part of the product. There has to be interactivity. You'll have to customize, and that's the ask that we have today. But when you look forward to what is going to happen to the software industry, it's going to be a composed software, which means, in simple terms, it's like that targeted ad that you see, right? So based on your browsing history, you will see a particular ad, which I'll see, you will see a different one, somebody else will see a different one, and that's exactly what's going to happen to each of the products. Based on the user, based on what they usually do, based on what they need, based on their profile, persona, the software is going to change. It's going to be composable. The microservices make it possible, right? Like the stateless servers make it possible. And so if you continue to do what you do today, for every screen, you'll probably have to write 10, 15 different procedures. Okay? So that's going to multiply your work. Next, if you're going to see what happens in terms of our staffing, right? So a long time ago, when I first heard of technical writing, for every 10 developers that were there, you would have one technical writer, which is a great ratio to have, right? So you can interact with everybody, you can understand what's happening, you can gain that domain knowledge, the deep dive domain knowledge which has been mentioned in the previous sessions. That was possible. But what's happened after that? 1:1:15, 20, 25, 35, right? And I confirmed with a few of my friends here what is the ratio in their company, and this looks more realistic, right? It's around 1:35, which means that you're already expected to be at least 300% more efficient than the previous generation of writers. We don't know what's coming next, okay? So you look at the scope of work. When I started writing, a long, long time ago, I was doing only writing. I would have an editor, I would have a graphic designer. I just tell them, hey, I want this graphic done, and they would do it for me. There would be an editor who will go and edit my doc. Life was good. Now, we went to writing, editing, reviewing the UI, creating the graphics, creating videos, making social media posts, creating a blog, even going on communities and answering questions, right? So the scope of what we are doing is increasing. Now, a lot of these newer tasks that you're going to work on has a lot of value add. So I'm not telling you to just push back on them, okay? They are going to be the high value content that you're going to work on. But dil mange more, right? So how are you going to do it? How are you going to cater to this exponential growth in the demand from each one of you as a writer? This is my solution. Do you know what this is? Excellent. Who said that? Yeah, excellent. Yeah. So I took it from the Akshay Patra Foundation. That's an Akshay Patra. So if you don't know Mahabharata, when the Pandavas went to the forest, when they were in exile, of course they were capable people. They were able to do whatever was required to survive. But because they were also royalty, they would get a lot of visitors, right? And then it became difficult for them to host them with the same lavishness that they had when they were in the palaces. So one such time, Draupadi started crying, saying, hey, this just doesn't work. And Krishna, being Krishna, gave her a mantra about sun god. Okay? So she started praying, the sun god was pleased, and he gave her Akshay Patra. So what the Akshay Patra does is, if you've cooked rice, and you put rice in Akshay Patra, it will multiply it. Okay? Multiply it till everybody's needs are met, and then it stops. So when Draupadi has finally had her meal, it will stop. Till then, it will keep multiplying whatever you put in that. Now you can call it magic, you can call it blessing, I call it automation. Okay, you already figured out what is rice, how to make rice. You put it in that bowl, and it will work on that automation. It will create that rice exponentially for you at mind-boggling speed. Right? There are enough stories. So any mythology you pick up, any book, so many stories your grandmother would have told, there are enough instances where we see instances of automation. Okay? We might have just said, yeah, magic. It's easy to explain, but that's automation. So what we want to look at is how can we automate to meet this growing demand that we have. Okay? So at Micro Focus, we put together this model called the Blitzscaling content model. It's called the 4C model. It has 4 elements: creation, curation, contribution, and computerization. For today's discussion, I'm going to just focus on the computerization part. Okay? So when I first coined this model and I used the term computerization, a lot of my friends walked up to me and said, Sachin, you're using computerization just because it rhymes that C, right? So you'll get a 4C. And I said, no, I could have very easily used a A, but I want this to be a reminder for all of us that we are surrounded by computers. Our work is with computers, yet we fail to use it to its full potential. Okay? And that's what I want to showcase today, and hopefully you'll get some ideas on how to automate and move forward. Okay? So here I have a depiction of all the kind of content that you might be creating. Generalized form, okay? You might be using a different title for the PDF. You might have a content unit here and there different. You might be calling it different. But this pretty much summarizes all the content that you are creating today. And below I have some of the other tasks, right? So generate a PDF, generate a context sensitive health, go put it in the build of the product. So that's what I have listed down there as other tasks. If you did automation, this is all you have to do. The rest will be taken care by the automation. Okay? So in terms of numbers, you're going to save on 65% of your effort. Okay? And this is something that we have tried and we know is possible. What will you do with that extra time? You can do that work-life balance somebody asked about. Yeah? So, I have it in 3 different colors. The blue is what you will continue to do. The green is what can be automated. And the gray ones are what can only be partially automated. So there will still be some intervention required to kind of work with that content. The black is just heading to group the content, okay? So ignore the black, but this is the possibility. So how are you going to proceed? What you're going to do? The first one is to define a content model. Okay? Now, content model is not a data model. Content model is not a template. Content model is going into the details of every single piece of content that you have, defining, okay, what is going to be the formatting? What is going to be the form factor? Will it be a table? Will it be a bulleted list? Do I have to have two separate tables, one for Windows, one for Linux? Do I have to get this unit or I want that unit? Right, so you have to get into defining every single layer in that composition of the doc. Okay? We have our superstar info architects right here, and they've been working on it for the last 1 year. Okay? And we still have so much to do. And the only way we can kind of joke about it, saying why we have not been able to finish it, is Sachin is very difficult to please. Okay? But it's a lot of work. And this is the hard work. Okay? In the automation game, this is the part where you will have to invest most of your effort. If you are able to do this and get it right, the next part is just about mapping out the sources. Where do I get this information? Do I get it from a developer? Do I pick it from a wiki? Is it there in my defect management system? Is it there in my project management system? Is it described as a feature? What is it that is available today? Where is it available? Then we go ahead and break it down into actions. So as a writer, what am I doing to create that document based on this content? Write down those actions, saying, okay, I open this defect. I opened this defect because I saw this flag. And then I opened this defect and I went to the description field. I copied it, I pasted it into this table here. Write down every single action that you perform. Okay? After that, it's very, very easy, right? What you do is automate. Get a good developer, tell him, these are the steps that I follow, these are the sources, this is how my content is supposed to look. And finally, like all things, measure and fine-tune. Like I said, the toughest part in getting this done is the content model. You get the content model right, the rest of it is cakewalk. You already know how to create that document. Okay, so before I move forward, any questions so far? Oh, there's a question there.
When you say listing down every single action to be performed,
Yeah.
then you must be having a target audience in the mind. But what we are discussing here is not restricted to a particular target audience, but just automating it to several others. So how to proceed with it?
Sure. So there is only one audience in mind. Okay? You as a writer, what is the action that you perform to create that release notes from the defect management system? What is the query you run? What are the flags you check for? What are the data fields that you pick? Once you've got that data from that source, what is it that you do to compose your document? Do you use a table? Do you use a bulleted list? Do you put any kind of admonitions? What do you do? So that's what I'm asking about mapping out, okay? Because we're going to make the script do what you do. So we are not worried so much about the user persona. The user persona part is taken care of when you are developing the content model. So there you are going to say, okay, I know that my software can be installed on Windows, Linux, but at any given time, a user is only interested in one OS. So I'm going to break this table into two, one for Windows, one for Linux, so the Linux user can just skip the Windows part. Right? So that's where you are talking about all the other personas that you have. When it comes to the steps, we are only talking about your actions. What is your source of information? What is your action to generate the doc? Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Yes. Yes. Yes.
How?
Dynamic is anyway managed by code.
Yes.
So you are going to put conditions. You're going to have, let's say, a basic JavaScript which says if flag is equal to A, show this, if flag equal to B, show this. That's how you're managing your dynamic content. So the dynamic part of that content is anyway managed by a script. It's not managed by us. So now we just have to figure out how to feed that flag into that script without manual intervention, right? So you figure out, okay, this is what I think or I do to put this condition on this content. So that's part of the actions that you write down.
Okay.
Yeah. Now I can move forward. Oh, yeah, one more. Right. Content model? Okay. So content model, okay. Don't quote me in office, okay? Content model will talk about first a logical chunk of data, okay? Chunk of data, you can call it a content unit, saying this is the bare minimum content unit. It could be an overview paragraph. It could be a table which is going to list the system requirements, let's say, or it could be a table which is going to list defects. Then in the defect, you go ahead and say, okay, if my content unit is one defect, what is it that I want to capture? I want to capture, let's say, the defect ID. I want the defect ID to be linked to this source. I want this description, and then I want a release where it's gone, right? So you define that model. Then you can get into other style aspects of it, saying this should be written like this, it should address the work directly, skip, say, weak verbs, all of those style elements you can define further from that. Okay? So once you have these content units, then you take multiple content units and put it together and say, okay, this is my content chunk. That content chunk being, say, a release note, or this is the installation guide, or this is an administrative task, or this is a user task, right? So you define the higher level next to it. And then you get into your mapping, saying, okay, I think based on my persona description or my topic analysis, this is the flow of my document. This is how it's going to be organized. This page has to lead to this page. This page has to go there. From here, the customer will have 3 options, right? So that topic analysis you take and superimpose on it to define what is going to be your tree structure going to, what's your TOC going to look like, right? So all of this is part of the content model. Okay. Good. Any other questions? No? Okay. So when you get into automating your content finally, there are going to be 4 types of automations that you can work with. Okay? The first one is a basic build job. You all work in software industry, you know how a product's build happens, right? So there is code in a repository, there is a automation server there which will run on a schedule, or when triggered, it will go pick this up, transform it into any kind of bundle that you expect, post it wherever you want. Right? That's the build time automation job. Now, next job that you can do is extract and transform. That means you know where to pick this information from. So we already discussed so many examples of extract and transform. You're going to pick from, say, defect management system, or you're going to pick from your project management system where the feature might be described. Pick it up, put it in your content model, make it look a certain way. So that's the extract and transform kind of job. The third kind of job that you will do is test automation based job. Now, this one has a dependency, and that dependency is that your R&D organization has invested in test automation. So if they have automated tests running for their product, you can build automation around it to create the document. Okay? Simple example, there is a screen, login screen. There are 2 fields, username, password. There's a button to click. There is a forgot password. How does the automation script run? It opens the UI. It goes to each field, It looks at the test case to figure out it should not take, say, a special character, it should take a special character, it should have 12 character length for password. Clicking on this page should take me to that page. That's what the test automation page script is doing. And then it records it with screenshots. So if you opened the automation tool that R&D is using, that record or that log has saying, okay, I went to this page, I opened this field, I entered this, it did not work, this did not work, this condition passed, this condition failed. It will take screenshots and save it there. Some of the tools also have the option of creating a video with it. So it will go and it will capture that entire procedure as part of the test and the video is ready. Now all you have to do is look at that log, construct your document from it, right? So you can get the logic. So I'll show you some recordings of what we've done. So you can read that log line by line, create your document. You can create video. You take that recording, give a voiceover. Okay? You can stop, stall, move, whatever, all that you can do, right? So you know how to create a video. So it's already recorded. You don't need another test environment. You don't need R&D to populate anything, nothing. This is their final setup. They're already testing everything. You got a recording. Now put a voiceover on it. Okay? So that's the test automation based job. And finally, there are enabler jobs. Now enabler jobs are jobs which will not be able to give you a 100% document. What it will do is do the heavy lifting for you. Okay? What are some heavy liftings that you do? You have a document. You are talking about VMs. You want to know where have I written VM in block letters, where have I written it in small letters. I need to consistently use it across. Your doc set is 5,000, 10,000 pages. How do you go and search? Now there is a global search, but how many terms will you search? Right? So only if you know, okay, I want to search for VM, can you search? But you don't even know what all terms I'm supposed to search to see if it's consistently used or not. So all you do is build a script which will go and index every single word that is there in that doc set and give you a feedback saying, okay, so I see these words are similar and you're using different formats here. And then, yeah, you know, okay, VM, I have used this and this. Now pick up your global find and replace, everything small, convert to big. Now in a classic search, when you search in a PDF or you search inside an HTML, one of the things that will happen is VM might be part of a bigger word. It will still get highlighted. The script will do a better job. What it will do is you can say before and after I need a space. Okay? It will do it. So the scripts are much more smarter and they can really enable what you want to do. So these are the 4 kind of automations that you can look at. We have tried it, we know this works, and this will solve that 65% of the load that you have today. So I've color coded it just so you know what is an enabler job, what is test automation based job, and what is regular build job. Okay? So you have it in orange, you have it in red, the legend is there on the side. Good. So let's get to the basic job. I've already given you a brief explanation of what a basic job is, but let me call out what are the dependencies. And in some cases, I can also share what is your investment in it, right? All you need for a basic job is a content management system. Okay? You can do it with Word, you can do it with even HTMLs put in a folder, but it's not really efficient. Okay? Enough open source content management systems out there, you don't have to spend a single pie. My own company's doc website is purely open source. We don't use a single paid software there. Okay? So it's very much possible. The second thing you need is some sort of an automation server, right? Some sort of a build automation server. I've given you the example of Jenkins. Jenkins again is free. Go ahead, use it. Very intuitive, very simple to set up. You don't even need a technical guy to do both of these. Just set up. I heard from somebody that yesterday during the pre-conference there was a session on MediaWiki. Right? MediaWiki is a great content management system. In fact, we use MediaWiki in the backend. Right? So of course we built different layers on top of it for various reasons, but the basic content management system we are using is MediaWiki, which is just free. It's out there, it's updated every day. There are thousands of developers who are contributing to it every day. It gets more features than some of the paid wiki softwares that you're buying today. Okay? So that's my only dependency for a build job. You need to have a content management system. You need to have a build automation server. Put those two together and you can automate anything. Build job. So what will you automate here? I want a PDF, I want an Excel, I want a Word, I want an HTML file, I want HTML file without header, I want HTML file without TOC, I want only this part of the page to go and show there. All of these are build time jobs. Define once, life is done. Right? You don't have to ever visit it again unless you are changing the experience of your product. Right? So instead of giving a small pop over one paragraph, you decide to show a whole page. Of course, you have to go and modify your script a little, but that's about it. All of these are build time jobs. Okay? Go ahead, do it, it gets done. So I have another build time job, and this is an outcome of my last STC conference. Okay? So I came here, I was talking to Paresh, I was talking to some of my other friends here. I've also discussed with Barnabas a long time ago about this. We just kept putting this off because it was a lot of investment. Okay? The equivalent tool of this, which we are trying to replicate here, is Acrolinks. So those of you who have Acrolinks in your organization, you know that this is a very expensive investment. What does Acrolink do? It checks your style, basically your word usage, checks for style, and this is an automation that we built together, totally freeware, right? Okay. Hopefully it will start. Not in my hand. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So while we were listening to your comment, the video is over. Okay, but let me tell you what happened here, right? Or I can play it again. Maybe that's a good thing to do. Okay, so when a writer finishes writing and saves the page, we run it by this custom job that we've created, and that gives you this report. Okay, so when the developer on my team developed it, he meant that smiley to be me. Okay, and he wanted it to be a reminder to the writers saying Sachin is happy with you, Sachin is sad about this. So that's the smiley you see on top. But basically what this does is it will do a complete spell check. It will do a complete tag check. It will do a complete MSTP compliance check and give you this report. Okay? So on the left, you can see it calls out, okay, you have a weak verb usage, you are using a weasel word, your sentence is difficult to understand, you have this tag open on this line, all of that it just highlights. So on the left is the comment, on the right is the page where it will start to highlight. So every comment that you click on, it will highlight on the page where it is wrong. Okay? So that's just a build time job. I created a validation system, I put it there. Every time somebody saves and we are checking in that file into the CMS, it will run and it will say this is the problem. Now when we started, originally I wanted to make sure you can't save the page till you fix all these errors. Okay? But some of these errors, especially the weak verb errors, are very difficult to fix. Okay? I mean, due respect for all the writers, but it's difficult to fix, right? Not everybody understands how to fix these weak verbs. But that's why what we did is, right now we are in that probation period, where we are saying, okay, I let you save, but I want you to be aware of what are the defects. In some time, I'm going to enforce that, hey, You can't save it till you fix all the errors. Okay, so that's a build time job that I was showing about. Okay. Next one, extract and transform job. Good candidate for your release notes, system requirements, API details, troubleshooting. In the past, I have known people who would join as an API writer, right? So API documentation writer, and commanded a premium also. Today, because of the technology that has evolved, there's absolutely no value in documenting an API. Okay, saying, okay, this is the API, these are the parameters, this is the method, bring it in, bring it out. Nothing. This is the value. Machine can do it, already does. So if you've looked at openapi.org, right? I forget the previous name it had. Swagger UI, right? So Swagger UI, what does it do? It just reads that JSON file and shows the data. Now from there, transforming it into the API details page is so very easy. Okay, so just go ahead and automate it. It's just an extract and transform job. You don't have to invest time there at all. But where you need to invest time is maybe writing that example end to end, right? Saying, okay, I want to export all of this data from this repository into that. How do I use all these APIs, in which sequence, how to build it? Now that part I can't automate. Okay, and that's part of the 35% that remains for you to write. So here is an example of a build and extract for release notes. So I've given you a diagram which basically says there is the user input. So writer goes and says, okay, I have this new version of this product, go do your job. They enter this input, the script goes to the defect management system, goes into the project management system. From the defect management system, it's picking defects which they want to show to the customers. This could be a fixed defect, this could be an open defect. Go into the project management system, okay, what are the features that have gone in? Which epic is this part of? Pick the description from there. Get a count of how many defects we've fixed, how many customer requests have been fixed, how many new features are getting introduced. Okay? Get all of that, transform it, push it into the CMS, and you will see this page. And I can show you this live. This is something which is all 100% ready, right? So I don't even have to work on this. So you're seeing a page which is blank. Okay, so you can see the URL on top. Okay, so there is a writer, opens a command line, and we're using command line here because we wanted it to be a small job, small video. Otherwise, it all runs in the background, right? You won't even get to see it. They put in a product name, a version. They go ahead and click, and now the script starts. So it will go into the enhancement list, defect list, look at the features, get that description, known issues, put it all together, and I'll show you a fully finished release note at the end of it. Now, how did we do this, right? Because there is some amount of writing which you are used to as a writer. Like, for example, the introduction, right? So you're saying, so that's the page that's completed. You want to say, okay, how do you write that overview or summary in a release note? Boilerplate text. Because you're not doing anything creative there again and again. It's not like your one release note is drastically different from the second release note. You're basically introducing, saying, I have fixed 6 defects, 6 enhancements have been introduced, 4 new features, this is version this of this release. So create a boilerplate text and then give that value field and tell the script that total input here, right? And that's the release note, right? You can read it. It's, okay, they removed it, is it? Yeah, that's a pretty readable release notes. Yes. Yes. Sure. Okay. I will answer that question. My disclaimer is, please don't hate me for it, okay? Okay. There is content in the system. We can create guidelines. The content is put in by developers. Over a period of time, they can pretty much write it, okay? The quality of what they write versus, and this is the part that I said, don't hate me, versus what the writer is writing today is not very different, okay? It's a marginal 10 to 20%. Yeah. And that's why I said the model is blitzscaling and not fast scaling. In fast scaling, I do not take the risk of getting rejected. In blitzscaling, I take a calculated risk. Okay? And that risk, I know this is the risk, saying the quality of the statement that is written there might be lesser than what I've been giving out. But then the call to take, and this is your individual call, is it acceptable? Will it ruin the world? Will it ruin the world, right? And then you can take that call. And that's why I call it blitzscaling and not fast scaling. Okay? Now, while you move into that ideal state where the developer will write quality content which is acceptable to us, we do give a safety net. So within our organization, it's not like we abandoned it. What we did is we query the database for customer visible. So there is a flag saying customer visible defect. And when we see a customer visible defect, the writers go and edit it. Okay, so we do some editing at that end, but that's what it is. But I'm guessing that in some time, and our developers are improving a lot in their written skills, so you won't even have to do it after some time. Okay, good. The next job I told you is a test automation job. Now, for the test automation job, in addition to the content management system and the build management system, there is a third requirement, right, which you can't miss at all. And that requirement is that of a test automation suite. We use Selenium in our company. Your company might be using something else, but all of them pretty much do the same job. Okay, so till you have a test automation system and your company is investing in test automation for the product, go ahead, use the log, works like a charm. So I kind of put it together as a diagram. I've already been shown the time signal, so I'm going to jump to the demo. Okay, so here you see a page which is empty. What I want to document is a procedure, how to download a PDF. Okay, now how to download a PDF is also part of my test automation for my portal. So this is our doc portal, so that's where it is. So as a developer, what they do is they go ahead and provide an input. This input could be at a page level, could be at a feature level, you can do it even at a product level. Okay, saying, hey, go there, this product, this version, all the test cases, go through the log, create the pages. Till you have the mapping in place, it will go ahead and do it. What you're seeing is the test automation script running that screen, right? So the test automation script has triggered in, it opened a browser, it went through the action of going to documentation A to Z, open a product, go to a particular page, go to the PDF download icon, click on one of the 4 options. There will be 4 options. It's part of the test case. And when they are done and this script closes, a log file gets created with screenshots and all of this data. My script reads that log and creates this document. Okay? Then you can't proceed. I said it's a dependency, right? So if your company is investing, you have all the infrastructure. If it's not, then we'll have to figure out some open source item and do it by ourselves. But writing all the test cases by yourself is not scalable, right? So the entire R&D team doing a test-driven development, writing those test cases, putting it in, it working as an automated suite is possibility. But a few writers at 1:35 ratio, creating all those test cases, putting in, won't work out. use Selenium for this. Okay. Sure. Yeah. Excellent. So we have another solution right there. Okay. And finally, an enabler job. Like I said, it will take you part of the distance, not the entire distance. It will do the heavy lifting for you. The final touches are still yours. What's new, glossary, tags that you're using, help call ID check, all of this is good candidate for enabler job. Basically what you will do, again, give an input of what you want. The script will go look at the CMS, pull the doc, read through it, give you an output in any which format that you want. Now this example that I'm showing you is to create a glossary. How much time does it take you to create a glossary? And this is my last one, okay? So we don't have to worry. How much time does it take to create a full glossary from ground zero? Huh? It'll take a full day? Okay. Wow. Lakshmi, please take her number. We want to hire her. Okay. Glossary is one of the most neglected parts, right? And we will put what comes to our mind. We so many times miss it. What we have done here is we are running the same script to go index. Now in this case, I'm indexing it for the glossary. I earlier gave you an example of word usage. What it's doing is going, pulling the target page or pages, indexing every single word, and giving me an output which says this word used how many times in that document. So for this example, we just use one page, so the numbers look a little small, 1, 5, 10, 15, but it tells you how many times you're using a word. Now, that script takes an input of a stop words list, which means we put in saying, okay, the, off, on, don't show me this. Once I have got the first output and I have rejected some of the words, I can put it in the stop list. So what I'm getting again and again is a refined list, which is closer to what I need in my glossary. Go ahead, write the definition, put it there. It's done a lot of the work for you already, right? And you can think of so many different applications for even this very task. When you get an output like this, there are so many things that you can do with it, okay? So that's the enabler task that I had. Excellent. So hopefully you agree with me on all of these advantages, right? It's going to reduce your cost, it's going to reduce your effort, it's going to make you more efficient. But the one thing that we agreed on before I even started is it will not take away your job, okay? I keep telling my team the same thing. Today I need you to do 15 things. You have time to do 10. You squeeze in the 15 there, definitely we are compromising somewhere. I automate 7 or 8 out of them, and you have 7 things to do. With time of those 10, you will do a much better quality job. Okay? And when you get that time back, I want you to invest it in the high value content. Okay? And what is that high value content? If I can go back, this is the high value content. The concept, the use cases, the examples, which today we are ignoring, right? Just to be able to document those 10 features, I am ignoring the examples and the use cases. Your deep domain knowledge will come here. This is what really matters. And if you don't believe me, try this thing that I call the grandpa test, okay? Go and explain your product to your grandfather. Explaining those procedures is cakewalk. You will just do it like that. Because all you're going to go click here, click here, click here, and he'll do it. But try explaining the concept to them. That's the struggle. Put a use case together. That's the only time they will understand, oh, this is why you use this product. And when you give him examples which they can relate to, they will relate with this product, they will relate with your doc, and you will have an immersive experience. Okay? That's all I had for today. Thank you. Good. Any last questions before I close? No? Okay, there are two questions. Can I take?
Just
Or
two.
there are- okay, just
Just
two.
two.
Okay.
Hello, sir. Thank you so much for your time and the content. It's really good. Yeah, it's audible?
Yes.
Okay. So, as you talk about automation, so automation server, I just have a question related to automation server. So, what are the basic key points that we need to take care of before choosing an automation server?
You just worry about the content model.
Okay.
You worry about making a list of actions and sources. Leave the rest to the R&D guys. There are enough developers in your company. One of them can just do the rest for you. Okay?
All right. Okay. Thank you.
That's it? Okay, thank you everyone. Have a lovely rest of the conference. Oh, one more question? Okay.
You
Yes.
developed your own thing.
Yeah.
But why reinvent the wheel when it's already there? Is it because of cost or is it adding value?
So, one, there is cost, right? Acrylics is expensive. Let's be honest about it, right? Second, it's just a linter. We developed it in 2 weeks. Okay? Why should I pay thousands of dollars for something I can develop in 2 weeks? And this is my current usage. Now, as my usage increases, my demand increases, I can add more features to it. But that incremental development that I'm going to do is not so much of a cost for me. So that's why we decided this way.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, you can customize it basically to
Yes.
your needs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. This is homegrown. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks. Have a lovely rest of the conference. Bye bye.
Thank you, Sachin. Thanks a lot for the informative session, especially for a person who is looking into automation. I was the one.
Okay.
As token of appreciation from us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
A lot.